Yeah.
Are we live?
Yes.
Okay.
Can
Good,
you
good,
unmute
good.
me? Yep. There
Hello,
we go.
my name is Dawn Denton, and today I'm being joined from South Africa. Guy Peters is the shuttle guy. Now there are few people in this world who have the capacity to have their business name and incorporate their own name into something that says what it does on the tin. So welcome to celebrate, Guy. How are you?
Yeah, thanks. Hi, Dawn. Thanks for having me. Nice to be here. From a nice summer's day in South Africa.
Oh, well, I'm pleased that it's the summer because you guys have had a bit of a rubbish winter, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been a bit up and down, but not yeah, we've had some late cold spells in September and beginning of October, but yeah, looking forward to the summer rains and nice high-fault thunderstorms that we get in these parts.
Oh, I miss them terribly. And I'll tell you that we are so thrilled that, not thrilled about climate change, but we are thrilled that as the weather is warming slightly in the UK, we are getting more thunderstorms, which has been absolutely perfect for an African girl based here in the UK.
That's
So
awesome.
tell me about your how it's because you started your life, you've done loads of other things before you ended up in the tourism industry. And tell us a little bit about your journey and how you ended up in tourism.
Yes, after studying and finishing school, I traveled a bit in the UK for for 4 years. Came back and got back into the finance back office administration in the financial world here in Johannesburg. And I've changed around a bit. And after being in the industry for a long time, I started doing the shuttle guy as a part-time gig. We're getting obviously the qualifications and the permits and all of that. And by pure chance, I made a great another tour guide on one of our tours, and he needed a driver. And I just found him to be absolutely awesome and decided to follow that path. I'm a big bush lover, and I thought this was one way I can incorporate getting to the bush more often is getting into the guiding and tour industry. And that's how I've started. So we were doing it part-time for a couple of years, and I did the studying the tour guiding qualification at night and part-time. And then from May this year, or June this year, sorry, I decided to go take the plunge and at 52 go into it full time, which has been scary, but awesome at the same time.
Oh, you are so brave because there are a lot of people who dream of taking that step into the next, phase or something that they've always wanted to do, and they just don't have the guts to do it. It must have taken quite a lot for you to, with a family and responsibility, to just go, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it.
Yes, it was. And my wife, Michelle, took a bit of a bit of strain because you get used to that definite income coming in at the end of each month. And
Yeah.
the with this being on your own, you start afresh each month. But whether it's just hard work and a bit of luck that the work just keeps coming in, which is, look, you have your quiet patches, no doubt, but so far it's been really good, and we've even been able to start drawing a smaller salary than I was used to, but it's a step in the right direction. So let's if it keeps going like this, we'll reach that goal quite quickly.
It will improve. It has to, those are what the one things that people say, as long as you're going in the right direction, that's all that matters. Um, I am really fascinated by how someone gets into tourism because I ended up in tourism in Europe, but I loved history at school. And I know that history is only a part of tourism because there's a lot of local culture. There's a lot of tourists often want to know, like, how much does a house cost? Is it expensive to live here? What is the school system like? All of those kinds of things. But was there always a passion in the background, or is it something that you've developed as you've got older?
It's definitely something I've developed as I've got older. I mean, I didn't take history at school, and I wish now that I'm in the industry, I wish I had because I mean, we've got, as a lot of most of us know, that our history is quite unique. We've had some really bad times, and we've have gone into some really good times. And there's a big history and we've got to get it right. And a country that doesn't have a history, well, that's boring. I mean, not to say it was a good history, but it was unique. And there's a lot to be told, whether it's talking about the Boer Wars and the Great Trek, going to Pretoria and the Voortrekker Monument, or the horrible days of the apartheid regime and how it all changed in the early 90s. So it's awesome. It's a great place to be, and we keep learning as we go. So I mean, it's never a dull moment. It's awesome. I mean, you go to all these different museums, and there's always someone new that you're seeing, or another tour guide, and it's amazing how people just say hello. South Africans are so friendly and so nice, and it doesn't matter if you black, white, green, gold. It doesn't matter. Generally, people are friendly and just get on with things. I call it we're very entrepreneurial in a very broad sense, and we get on with things. Things just happen, and we get on with it. We've got our problems, but we get on with it. We make a plan, and that's.
But we
awesome.
have to. We have to, because there is no safety net in South Africa. And so you kind of have to plow through and make it work. And I absolutely love that. Now, you mentioned the Voortrekker Monument. I've noticed on your social media some of the other places that you visit. I'm just curious about, what is it that foreigners mostly want to see when they come to South Africa? Because I know that Johannesburg is a place that they all go. Well, I've spoken to them on this side of the world, and they're like, "Oh, I don't think I want to go to Johannesburg." But when they do come, what is it that they're the most interested in finding out about?
Yeah, look, Joburg, yes, there is that big, it's the big scary world out there, but Johannesburg's actually got so much to offer and so much to do, and I really wish people would go to Cape Town. It's beautiful. Go to the bush. It's lovely. But definitely spend a day or two here. There's so much to see and do, and a lot of Soweto is wonderful to go to. A lot of people at Soweto, and then a few of the museums that you can also link it up with. Soweto is there's some great places to eat. There's great places to see. There's a lot of history there. It's fantastic. The vibe, and that, especially over the weekend, is fantastic. And then there's also a great place, Lesedi Cultural Village, which is out near Hartbeespoort, which is fantastic to go and see. And you get there's so much to see and do, whether it's museums or just spending the day out in one of the reserves close by. There's a lot to offer, and there's a lot of safe places to go. Look, common sense prevails. There are the bad areas and not such good areas, but that's why you go with a guide who can take you and show you the good places to go and stay out of the bad ones. But that's, I think, anywhere in the world, you got your good and your bad. Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, you mentioned on social media, I had a little look because I was a stalker, about and obviously, well, I haven't lived in South Africa for 30 years now, which is like, yeah, I did move here when I was like 2.
yeah,
Um,
you only look 33.
yeah, well, thank you. Um, so the Origin Center, tell me what that is.
So the Origin Center is an extension of the Cradle of Humankind out at Maropain, and it's a fantastically done and built. They've done it in a very nice way. So it starts off with the origins of humankind, and sort of so it depends also on some people don't really like it because of your Christian beliefs, but it really goes on to then so it goes on. The first section is from the cradle of humankind and our ancestry and where we sort of came from. But then most of the museum is actually about the Khoi and the Khoisan people. And we're the first people in Southern Africa that were hunter-gatherers. And they've got some lovely shows and some lovely places, just sections in the museum that are wonderful. And there's a great site guide there, Brian, who can take you around, whether it's a group of 2 people or 3 people that we were at the time, or up to 20 people. And he'll take you around the museum, or you can go with someone like myself and go around the museum as well. It is fantastic, and it's not expensive. It's actually at Wits, the main campus. So easy to get to, safe to get to. And there's some nice, really nice little restaurants close by that, like 44 on Stanley, that's great to go to. Or yeah, there's some great places or to go to afterwards that are close by to fill up your day.
I'm just curious, do people come to you to craft like a whole itinerary, or do you have ready set itineraries and say this is what I can do, or do you do a combination of both?
A combination of both. So we are on a lot of our leaflets or pamphlets that we advertise on. We've got set ones, but we always say to people, look, you don't have to go by this. You can sort of change it a bit if you want to. Instead of Con Hill, we can go to Apartheid Museum, or if you just want to do Soweto, that's also fine. We can change it up. Or if you want to do the Sedi Cultural Village and maybe go up the cable car, Hardebeesport, that's also, or the Origins Museum. There's so much to see and do that are close together. It's a little network, but it's fantastic.
It feels like you need more than just a day. I mean, I'm just thinking about, all the amazing that you could spend 2 weeks in the Joburg area and actually just have the best time.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's great. I mean, yeah, I would say at least 3 or 4 days. Yeah, so depending on everybody's sort of itinerary, because you've got to leave from work and you want to see Cape Town, you want to go to the bush, but yeah, if you're limited for time, do a few days in Cape Town, come here. We'll spend 3 or 4 days here, and then you can always do, even if you're limited for time, do Pilanesberg for a few days instead of going down to the Kruger National Park, which I hate. I should kick myself for saying that because the Kruger National Park's my favorite place in the world, and I wish I could get there more often. But it's I know people's time's precious, and it's not always so easy to spend a week down there, a week in Cape Town, a week here. So if you've got 3 weeks, that's the ultimate.
Absolutely. So do you find that people are coming into Joburg as a stopover more than a destination?
Yes. So a lot of people will fly in Joburg if they're going down to maybe one of the private reserves down near the Kruger National Park, or they're maybe going up to Madikwe up in the Northwest Province for a few days, but sometimes they've only got a day or two to spend in Johannesburg. So it can be a bit rushed, or you're doing it when people have just got off their long flights from America or Europe and they've got half a day or a day so that people are quite tired. But I generally suggest if you quickly have a rest day when you get here and then spend a full day or 2 days if you can after that, and spend time doing all the nice sites, because there is a lot as you said earlier, there is a lot to see and do around the area. It's not the dangerous place as
Yeah.
as that everyone thinks it is. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So do you find that you get a lot of South Africans that either live abroad or are from another part of the country that want to learn more about the area?
Yes, there have been a few that have come through and said, yeah, take us around Johannesburg. And it's amazing how many of our local friends haven't been to Constitutional Hill or Apartheid Museum or Soweto. And one of my favorite stories is that in 2009, when we were all preparing for the Soccer World Cup, a lot of the rugby stadiums were being revamped for the soccer. And one of the big local rugby games was held in Orlando East at the Pirates Stadium. I think it was I can't remember. If I remember right, it was Western Province and the Bulls. And it was the first time I went to Soweto. There was a group of 8 of us, and we hired a normal, what we call taxis here. And the chap took us through to Soweto, and it was jam-packed. We had a great time, and then we went up to Villa Carlton and had a few drinks, and we had some dinner. And this was 2009, so it wasn't that long ago. And I'm 52, which is crazy to think. I've lived here all my life, and it was the first time I'd gone there. And it was safe. And I even go through Soweto now, I guess. People get a bit nervous, but it's, you're going to go into the safe areas and the good areas, and people are really, really nice.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
must
good
say
fun.
I really love I loved when I took some British students, school children, they were 17-year-olds, to South Africa, and we did a cycle day through Soweto, and they were blown away. They loved it. And we got invited, to come and sit in someone's garden and use their hose to kind of cool us down and their sprinkler system. And, it was just, as you say, it is just friendly and really, really nice to see another side of life. And we did grow up differently. And I think that is, but it's having to now say, well, I didn't grow up knowing about that. And now's the time that I need to find out because we've moved on as a country. And this is important now to not only our future, but understanding our past.
100%. And that's, yeah, country without a past is, yeah, we've all got a history and we've got a part to play in what's happening going forward as well. That,
Yeah.
as Nelson Mandela said, don't let that happen again. And whether it's uh, the 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 new government or the old government, you don't want to go back to the old government, but you can't let the new government also go in that way. You've got to keep everyone on the straight and narrow, and keep it going. So we've got a new government of national unity going at the moment. So let's. I just hope it all works out. It seems to be going okay. So there's definitely a lot more Presence Road seems to be. Yeah, we've got our potholes and but a lot of people do say our national roads are awesome, and they are. Our highways are fantastic. It's a great. Yes, when you go off into the rural districts, it's maybe not as nice, but generally our roads are still pretty good. We've got our power problems and maybe the water problems, but we'll make a plan and we'll get through it, and it's still a great place to be, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. The Rand Club, I noticed that looks like a really wonderful old kind of, place. It looks really amazing. Tell me what the Rand Club is all about.
So the Rand Club, yes, so it's from the old gold mining days and Cecil John Rhodes and the chaps when they came through in the gold rush built that now club that you can join and as part time, but they still offer wonderful lunches and you can rent hotel rooms for the night, and it's in the middle, smack bang in the middle of town. And the CBD has gone through a bit of a dip, but there's safe parking there because there's still some nice sites that you can go and see in and around the city centre, but you definitely need someone that knows their way around to show you. But it's yeah, at Old Club they've got one of the biggest bar counters in the world which is awesome, and it's not the fanciest lunch, but it's a great place with a lot of history, a nice big library inside. The library, they've got a library, also a library downstairs with a great couple that run it. That I think you can find all sorts of books, and they're very knowledgeable people and lovely staff that work there. So if you've got a conference or want to sleep there the night, or just want to go there for lunch or dinner, or want to get married, you can get married there if you like. It's a fantastic old club that has got a lot of history in it, and it's definitely worth a visit.
So it looks like it's got a lovely atmosphere as well, that old kind of mining atmosphere, which I think is also really quite special. Now you mentioned a lot of people that you've made contacts with. Being new in the industry, that must be quite a thing, is to connect with all these people so that they know that you're there as well.
Yes, so yeah, you connect. So we've also got there's a nice garden group on WhatsApp that we all part of, or not everyone, but a lot of the guards are on it, whether you're in Cape Town or Joburg or Durban, everyone's on it, and everyone so shares advice. Is this place still open? Was that what does it cost to get onto this specific place? So everyone's just sharing ideas. So everyone's very knowledgeable, but they're happy to share their knowledge with everybody else, which is great. So and people are great and are good fun. And they whether you see them on the streets or at the different museums, it's always whether you're meeting them for the first time, guides, or so even though there's what I'm trying to get to is even though there's a competition because we're all wanting to make money, when you see each other, it's fun. It's you all level playing field, and it's nice because if you're too busy to do something, there's always one or two guides that are around that you really connect with, that you share with. So it's sort of like a circle. I can't do it this time, so let me find someone that I know and ask them if they're available. They can do it, and that's how we sort of generally operate. It's because you can't do it all.
No, you're right.
Yeah. So it's nice to have those connections to share work with, and that you trust that you're not going to let the client down at the end of the day either. So
Absolutely,
that's
because you're an
fantastic.
ambassador for our country. So, that's also really quite special and quite an important role. Now, tell me a bit about the training, because coming from a background of tourism, I know South Africa is respected around the world. I remember working in Europe and people always said, so Switzerland has a great system. I know that in South Africa. So tell me a bit about the training, and was it really as difficult as a lot of people have said? Which in some ways you want it to be difficult because you want the guides to come out the other side with a really good qualification. But tell me a bit about that.
Yes, so it's what we call an NQF level 5, which is your national qualification, with the NQF level 1 being your very basic stuff, and it goes up to I think 8 or 9. So sort of a bit, yeah. So it is quite challenging because there's a lot of history you've got to know, and they give you a lot of practical stuff to do as well. So you've got to know all your history on each province. Yeah, they even get you to do. Draw up a map and a guiding tour to enable to pass. So you have to do a lot of practicals along the way to get your qualification. So it's not just snap bang, I'm going to try do it in 2 months. And there's just too much to do in 2 months to cover all of it if you're going to become a national guide. But if you're doing it month by month, you can probably do it in each one, probably take you at least a month. But it's just to get through because there's a lot of admin and the legalities around it that you've got to know all of it from. So you're keeping people safe at the same time that you can't just take people out and not have insurance, for instance. It's something happens, you're going to be in trouble. So you got to keep your wits about you. So as crazy as things are in South Africa, we have got a lot of good stuff going as well. That legally, you've got to have your badge on you. You've got to be accredited with the government. You've got to have your special permits to drive. You've got to have your first aid course, and you can't just have any first aid course. It's got to be a legitimate first aid person that's accredited with the different government agencies. So there's a lot of hoops that you've got to go through, and you've got to get it done every 3 years. You've got to go through your driving permits every 2 years. Your sorry, I lost my train. Your insurance has got to get updated each year to make sure you're covered correctly. Yeah, your first aid course, it's every 3 years, and you're still there's always stuff to learn. It's never ending. You've got to keep up to date with what's going on in the industry, whether you're in finance or the car industry or tourism. You've got to keep up with local trends and what everybody wants to do. So it's great fun. Awesome.
I'm sure it is actually. I looked into it years and years ago myself because I thought it would be really nice to have my qualification and but it's one of those things that life goes in a different direction. I wanted to know when you were starting out, what part of history were you the most surprised about? Because we know that our history was controlled. We grew up with history that was written by the apartheid government. So what part of history did you go, wow, when you first discovered it?
I think I think the hardest bit for me was probably seeing how people were treated when they were in prison, like the one at Constitutional Hill. I think that's what surprised me the most, and how bad and how harsh the treatment was on people of color. Yes, we all know it was bad, and maybe I came from more of a privileged background or didn't notice as much, but yeah, we had a blanket over us, I think, and I think that was more of the biggest surprise, that how bad things were. And even like in the 1976, the Soweto uprising, and how those poor children fighting against the Afrikaans having been taught in Afrikaans and just trying to have peaceful protests, and it didn't work out that. So it's those little things, or not such little things, but those things that you take for granted that which surprised me the most, and how horrible and bad it was.
Yeah, we were protected from that. And when I tell people, I do talks about growing up in apartheid South Africa, and people are surprised because in this part of the world they knew more than we did. And we were
Yeah,
in the country. And I
yes,
think that is a stark reality of how we grew up. And that doesn't justify anything, doesn't make anything, well, we could have done more. Of course we could have done more. Um, but it is a dark part of our history, but as Nelson said, we've got to learn from it. We have to know it to keep it alive so that we learn and that we don't go back to those times. Um, which
definitely.
is huge. And if when people come to South Africa, the first thing they want to do is eat local food. Now, it's not always that easy to take them to a braai as a tourist, but what kinds of stuff do you recommend people try when they come to South Africa for the first time?
Yeah, and that's quite a funny one because it all depends on your palate. But I've had some Australians that came through, and we went to one of the local restaurants in Soweto, and the lady with us loved the tripe and the pig's brains and the lamb and all that, and she loved it. And her husband was, "Give me the dessert. I'll have two things of dessert." So it's there because there you get obviously also a lot of the traditional stuff and from the local community, and then you get your braai meat and your chicken wings. And I always laugh because South Africans generally love our chicken, with whether it's KFC, Nando's, chicken seems to be the way forward. But we love our chicken here, and there's a lot of variety, and I think everybody loves it. But we definitely also got some very colourful treats, whether it's mapani worms from Limpopo, or if it's your tripe. Yeah, it's an acquired taste, I like to say. I wish I'd tried it earlier in my youth. Maybe I'd enjoy it more. But some people love it, and I presume it's like eating haggis in Scotland. That some people love it, others not so sure about it. But it's definitely worth trying. You got to try it once at least. That's what I say.
Oh, I just don't have I don't have the guts to try Mopani worms. I mean, you are very brave.
Yeah, so that's also one of the nice things at Lesedi that you go to, because one of the little places you go, they actually ask you to try it, and it's just quite salty, and it's almost like cardboard because it's dried out so much, and there's a lot of salt in it. So that's the best way I could have described it. So they're not you can eat them when it's still just been killed, but yeah, it depends who's offering and how it's been prepared.
No, I'll
Yeah.
just go for a steak and a chicken wing, and I'm happy, really. It's that
No,
simple.
medium rare.
No.
No,
No.
dead.
Yeah, I don't want blood on my plate, so I just worry that even if I go into that rare, even if I mention the word rare and I cut it and there's blood I don't like the blood mixing with my other food. Like I want
Okay.
a pink steak, but I don't want it. So I just always go medium and then I'm
Yeah.
happy. And I try and
Okay.
mention the pink, but it doesn't
Yeah.
always happen that way. But I'm easily pleased, and as long as it's meat, I think I'm quite happy.
That sounds good. That sounds awesome.
So tell me now, how people can get in touch with you and what kinds of things that you've done recently that might inspire people to book with you.
Yeah, so we've done some lovely tours up to the cradle of humankind. We mentioned just now the Origins Museum is definitely worth a visit, and then your more popular routes, whether it's Constitutional Hill and Soweto, or even the Apartheid Museums, worth a visit. Just beware that some of the museums aren't open every day of the week. Like, for example, Apartheid Museum's only open Wednesday to Sunday, so Monday, Tuesday they're closed. But yeah, those are the more popular tours, and then you could also just rearrange it and maybe see some of the smaller places like Lily's Leaf and Rivonia, which is a fantastic little museum to go and look at, and also a great site guide there that takes us around, but also quite quiet. So there are not lots of tourists going around. So also worth visiting. But people can get hold of me at via my website, www.theshuttleguy.co.za or info@theshuttleguy.co.za. And then my local number is 083-250-9855. And it's +27 was the area code. So for South Africa. So those are the channels. And we're on Facebook with and Instagram, TikTok with the same name. So
You're so young and with it to be on TikTok.
Luckily, I've got two young boys that I have to ask frequently what I'm doing wrong. So
you're going to have to start paying them, you know.
Yes, that's why they get pocket money each month. So I've got to get my money's worth.
Oh, Guy, you know, you've really inspired me to consider some new places to visit in South Africa, because even as someone, you know, that visits Joburg every couple of years to go and see friends and family, you know, there's a heritage element there that we spoke about, which we don't know as much about as we should. And I think it's really important that wherever we are in the world, that we share those stories and tell our story as a nation, our origin story, and share those you know, experiences with other people, because tourism plays such a big role in cultural change, but also in our economic change in the country. And I think it's vital that we keep it going. So thank you for the work that you do. And yeah, I'll put all the
Thanks.
details with the video, but I really love chatting to you, and you know, share more, you know, let us know what you're up to, because it'd be great to hear if you find another gem that you want to share with the world.
Definitely.
We'd love to share that with the community. But thank you very much. And
Yeah.
yeah, happy
Thanks so
sharing
much for having me.
I'm so thrilled that you're sharing our story. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me on your channel. That's it's been awesome. Great to catch up and lovely to see you.